So I welcome you all on behalf of Association of Muslim Professionals to the AMP Web Talk. Association of Muslim Professionals is a non-profit organization and is registered in India, United States of America, United Kingdom, and Australia. AMP has completed its 12 years in serving our community in the field of education and employment and empowerment. AMP has a vision to positively impact lives of 10 million people by the year 2030. AMP's mission is to empower the underprivileged for the greater benefit of the society and nation as a whole. AMP's vision is to be a model community which is advanced in education, socially progressive, culturally vibrant, politically influential, and economically dynamic. So what AMP has achieved in these past 12 years is right in front of you all in this slide. You can just have a quick glance at it so that you can understand our achievements, our projects, and what activities under these projects we do. So as you can see, we have school development programs. We also have employment assistance cell. We have a project on scholarship and self-employment. AMP has also got its resource center with 600 plus career counselors. We also do awards and partnership. So these are our main flagship projects where we work towards benefiting our community and nation. Apart from that, AMP's presence is right in front of you. On ground, AMP got more than 100 active chapters. We are present in 25 states and 16 countries with more than 6,000 active members. In AMP's online presence, we have 1,25,000 members and professionals who are connected to us through various social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Google Groups, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and Twitter. If you wish to join AMP, you can just log on to www.ampindia.org/joinamp, and we will be very glad to have you on board with us. So, all right, that I'm sure all who are present here must have got a fair idea about AMP and its working in the field of community welfare. Moving forward to the session, I welcome each one of you once again on behalf of Association of Muslim Professionals. I am Humaira Kabir. I am representing AMP and I'm your host today. I'm associated with AMP as a full-time volunteer, member, and also working as operations manager at AMP USA. Along with me, we have Mr. Mohammad Shahanshah Ansari, who's the president of AMP USA from Columbus, Ohio. I would like to introduce you all to the speaker of our soft skill webinar series, phase 2, Mr. Shah Siddiqui Saab, who is the CEO of Reed Academy. Mr. Shah Saab is a career coach, a training consultant, and a management faculty with more than 2 decades of experience in the area of management sciences. Mr. Shah Saab has joined us from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum, Shah Saab. I would like to introduce you all to Mr. Saeed Saab, who is Director of Technology at Swift e-Learning Services. Mr. Saeed Saab has joined us from Hyderabad. Assalamu alaikum, Saeed Saab. Saeed Saab will be talking about the LMS and the assessments at the end of the session, inshallah. Those who have issues and questions about LMS, that is Learning Management Systems, I would request you all to please hold on to your queries till the session ends. After Shah Saab's session, we will be taking LMS related queries as well. Please refrain yourself from texting and asking not related questions. For topic specific questions, we will be having a Q&A round that will be of 15 to 20 minutes. Now I will request Mr. Shah Saab to proceed with the session. Thank you. Over to you, Shah Saab.
Thank you, Ms. Kabira, Ms. Humaira Kabir. Thank you. And I'm not sure if my voice and video is clear. Hello, everyone, and I welcome back to our soft skills series. And we begin today after closing on summarizing the soft skills as of last week, with a newer learning experience or a newer learning event, as we have highlighted. Somebody with a business acumen and always on a lookout for learning events. And this is a experience of different kind. The topic today is coaching and mentoring, introduced to you as a learning event. This is so you know that I'm not coaching anything today, but this is about how coaching and mentoring should be. So we'll take a look at coaching and move on to mentoring. For those of you who are not familiar with this topic, because coaching has been in fashion in the recent past, and this is also a newer term. And then from our soft perspective, coaching is about interaction. So this is a closer aspect of grasping the learning educational opportunity. So this is how we would start out into coaching and mentoring. And the best way I can define coaching and mentoring would be by the famous phrase, it takes two to tango. I'm sure you all are familiar with this phrase where it takes, the emphasis on two, it takes two to tango. So with this, we can build on our concept of coaching and mentoring with, soft skills underlying, soft skills having an underlying mechanism. And coaching and mentoring is also, the two terms together are also a competency that we will look at towards the end of the session. So once again, I welcome back to you all to our series, and we will start out with coaching and mentoring. And as I have defined to you, coaching is more about interaction. So is mentoring, but there is slight difference that we will look at how. So we can start out with coaching as a learning event where the relationship building is in focus. And with relationship building, you would also be attaining some goals. And coaching is more of a corporate, in the corporate context, which means that coaching is relating to your development within a corporation, within an organization. And coaching is also relating to your job profile. And coaching is also about having structured set interventions with your seniors or superiors. Now, this module also relates to how the relationship between a coach and a coachee, or in other words, a coach and a protégé, as they call it. So this is also so you know that there are some changes, there are some developmental behavior that you have to study. There are some acronyms, a lot of concepts that relates to both the coach and the coachee. So if you're in a position to coach someone, then this workshop is for you. While at the same time, if you are on a learning curve where you need to develop, certain skills in a different format, then coaching and mentoring is also a workshop for you. So with this, I want to start out with a basic pre-assignment as we do all the time. And I'm guessing you all have your housekeeping stuff in place, your writing journal and a paper to write down as we proceed. But most importantly, I want you all to take a little task, which would be your pre-assignment for the session, which you can compare it towards the end. And the pre-assignment relates to what your developmental requirements are in an organizational context. And then what areas you think you are, capable of coaching someone. So with these two in mind, I want you to proceed in the session and then compare it towards the end of the workshop. To begin with, coaching is about interpersonal goals, relationship, and trying to share. Is the presentation format clear, Ms. Humera?
Actually, it is not coming on presentation mode. We can see the window in split mode. So
okay,
I think you can maximize the.
Is this better?
It is better now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, so I'm going to give you a scenario. I hope the situation, I hope the presentation of the workshop, the webinar, is clear from interpersonal, from a competency-based view as well as your sociological related view. You could look at this workshop where you are more using your interpersonal skills that you have utilized in the past. So with the background that we have developed and the formal session that we had when it comes to training and when it comes to having the right kind of training infused in you, this would be a new encounter, which would be closer. You can call it close encounter of the learning kind. And with this, we'll try to focus on different corporate scenarios. So I want you all to start out with your pre-assignment and then think of a time where coaching would have helped you. For example, you're reviewing in your organizational settings, you're reviewing a report, a monthly report or a quarterly report. And then you're looking at an executive summary if you're a manager, or if you're looking at a appraisal related evaluation, where it's very easy for a seasoned employee to pick on an employee or a junior employee or a team member where the performance has been once again low, right? So if the performance is low, you would look at and you would recall what the reasoning was. So if you see that a salesperson consistently giving not just average sales, but lower and lower sales figure, and you know that this is the person you have talked to, and you also know that this person is not very receptive when it comes to communication and also had an attitude situation. So this is the time where you would think of, or you would choose a methodology where you would try to sit with him one-on-one and initiate a session. So this is how you would look at coaching in an organizational context, and then trying to work on development of the skills, his attitudes, his interpersonal skills, as well as maintaining a relationship with him and achieving certain goals. So coaching, within an organizational context will entail this. And this is how we would start out. And take a little bit about mentoring, which is a little more metaphysical than coaching. Mentoring would start out in a non-conventional environment. It will not be so structured, and it will be more of an informal intervention, which means that the goals would not be hierarchical. It would be open, informal. So in an organizational setting, you have a hierarchy, organizational structure where who reports to who is in place. Here, we don't have that. So mentoring would be a little more higher, and then the goals would be different. And then we will also look at how we can have a blended solution, incorporating some aspects of coaching into mentoring towards the end. But for the most part, we would be dealing with coaching in this webinar. So as you can see on the slide, coaching is a process of relationship building and setting goals. And then here, we will talk about how coaching can be a methodology. With that, we would have various concepts, various acronyms that we will be using, some from the past and some which are new to us. And it goes on towards relationship building, achieving the goals until the process of coaching ends. So we have different concepts. The first concept that you incorporate will be the concept of GROW, or the methodology called GROW, G-R-O-W. So G stands for goal, and R and O, W are all acronyms. It ends towards wrapping. And then we would look at how we can use goals with our underlying technique of SMART goals, okay, where the goals would have to be specific, measurable, and so forth. And then follows another concept known as LAMA, L-A-M-A. And then it starts out with BIG concept. So you'll run into a lot of these concepts here that you would have to make notes or, review it later on, so that you can establish the methodology towards achieving goals. And then it goes on towards how to incorporate the right attitude, how to build the trust, as well as how to give a feedback. We end towards a concept known as the feedback sandwich. Part of the workshop would be relating to a lot of topics that you have used in the past. So as we delve into this, you would be able to appreciate how the previous topics that we have dealt with are coming handy here. So this is a level towards management or towards strategic thinking or towards strategic management as to how the soft skills come into the play and how you can establish the coaching system. And for those of you who are not familiar with coaching as a concept, you do have to realize that this is a newer concept. And this is a concept that does not exist in most organizations, which also means that it might be available, it might be there in a different format, in a different different sort. So this is also a chance for you to set up a coaching or a mentoring program within your organization. If you take the initiative, it's a great learning opportunity for everyone else. And then if you are in need of some help, then you can go on and have anybody, request anybody to be a coach for your organizational achievement, as well as request anybody within the organization to be your mentor for your lifetime achievement or more of your career development. So when it comes to your position, your job profile, and your short-term achievements, organization attainment, then coaching is the way to go. And then when you want to go beyond and build on a lifelong relationship or a longer relationship relating to your career goals, where you want to be 10, 20 years later, then all you need is a mentor. So this is for you all to understand how you would have to be prudent in choosing a mentor or having a mentorship program established. So in real life examples, everyone have had mentors. We may not know who mentors who, but right from any area that you see, newer industries, newer jobs that didn't exist 10 years ago, they always have had mentors. I can once again give you the example of who the mentor was for Steve Jobs that he did mention. Or you can work it out and see how things work out, how things work out in choosing a mentor. So did Bill Gates, and so did the local, the CEO of PepsiCo. I'm forgetting the name, and then you go on. So mentorship is about higher than hierarchical achievements, informal settings, and then we'll try to cover some of those towards the end. So with that in our mind, with that examples in mind, we'll go on in looking how to set up a coaching program by learning the tricks of the trade and also choosing a mentor. So most of you may not be in need of a coach, but it's always better to have a coach assigned to you or have it set. And then for those of you who are in a position to coach, then a lot of concepts here will apply. So define coaching and mentoring we did. Let's look at how we delve into coaching using the GROW model. Okay, defining coaching and mentoring. Coaching is about interpersonal goals and setting interpersonal relationship and trying to achieve some goals. And then mentoring would be more than just a hierarchical situation. And it would talk about how you can have somebody look into your career goals. So who is a coach? A coach could be a trainer, instructor, tutor, that will focus on one or two skills. Their interaction is planned and structured. So this is relating to, for example, your sales goal, or this is relating to, for example, your deliverables. So in any setting, anywhere from, from an industry relating to hi-fi technical establishments to something soft like, content related or publishing, there is always, a session, where you will coach somebody and there is always a coachee. So the interaction here is planned and structured. As opposed to coaching, mentoring is more of a guiding, counseling, supporting, and different from coaching. Different in the sense it's more interpersonal. It's more relating to your personal goals. The difference, the goals are vastly different in the area of having the relationship. Interpersonal is higher. It's more than two here. To tango is how you would look at it. In other words, interpersonal relationship relating to their personal goals are extracted in a mentoring session. However, your personal goals relate to your career related goals, not your really personal stuff. So if anybody is going towards achieving a higher degree or an advanced degree while he's working, that would be an area that a mentor will try to extract and see how it would impact his life, how he can better facilitate him, and then how he can help him achieve his long-term goal. So with that, let's talk a little bit about how coaching is approached. So we have this methodology, which is known as GROW model, that we utilize in having coaching installed or instilled within an organization. So this is the first acronym that you're dealing with, and you'll run into a lot more here. So it starts out with GROW. The first one is goal setting. The second one is reality check, options develop, and a wrap up. So this is the first part of grow. Here in goal setting, we have dealt with goals or achieving goals in our time module. And then we had another methodology or another acronym relating to goal setting or achieving goal, which was the SMART goal, if you remember. It goes with SMART, attainable, realistic, relevant, and timely. So with that in our mind, we'll take a look at how goals are set, in an organizational context at a certain function, and then we will try to incorporate, take some examples and see how goal setting is realized. And then the second part of the GROW model, the second R is the reality check, which is about trying to extract information from your coachee or from your trainee. A reality check starts out by having the coachee comfortable with you. In other words, when the coach is comfortable with the coachee and the relationship is built, so will the coachee be. So in other words, you have to have an idea about where the problem is and how would you check on the reality. And most importantly, having the reality check, how would you make the coachee realize the reality or where the problems are. So this is by inquiring, this is by questioning, this is by using open-ended questions. And then if there are an area where the coachee would have to realize that the problem is with his communication skills, the problem is with his sales attitude, or the underlying issue is his emotions, then this is where you would have him say it by himself. So we need to have a relationship that's being sustained between the coach and coachee. So it's more about the relationship here. So is the case in mentoring. So the relationship would have to be in such a way that the coachee should not know that this is a session more about the career goals or the career development of the coach as opposed to me. So this kind of trust, this kind of attitude, this kind of setting would have to be maintained. So this is how you would take out the reality check. We might have a bit more in the future models when it comes to reality check. And then you have another methodology for options to be developed. You would lay out some options as to how the coachee will be comfortable with. And then based on these options, we will have to check it against some additional queries, some additional acronyms that we have, and then lay out the options. Once the options are laid out, then you have to wrap it up with a plan, which means that the plan comes into the action, which needs to be followed by the coachee. So this plan is the beginning of the goal setting. This is the beginning of reaching those goals. And this is the beginning of how the goals can be achieved. So this is the first model that you would look at under this methodology called GROW. Let's take a look at a brief on coaching before we move
Sharon
on.
was assigned to coach a new employee named Brad, who worked in the sales department. Brad had been promising as an applicant, yet his sales did not live up to expectations. Sharon decided to have a meeting to determine the problem and create a plan to resolve it. First, they decided upon a goal, which was to boost his sales. Sharon found out from Brad that customers had a hard time understanding him through his accent, so they looked at their options. After weighing the choices, Brad decided to attend a speech class. They created a plan that outlined what his expected sales would be and how they correlate to his progress in speech class. Brad eventually was able to reach those expectations, and Sharon had successfully coached him.
All right. Many times you might wonder, based on your pre-assignment, how the concept of coaching did not exist in the past. And same is the case with other areas, like when you were in school, you had a liking towards math for whatever reason. But did anyone tell you that math is related to, for example, aircraft building, or physics was related to aircraft building? So same is the case when you were moving up and when you were trying to implement your topics from physics or from your math. There was seldom a time where you would understand how this is all applied. Same way in an organizational context, if there was somebody who would come and tell you or be your coach or a mentor, then there is this aspect of you understanding what your goals are and how you could be achieved. This has nothing to do with your technical skills, but this is to understand how your technical skills will impact the applications, the businesses, or the other topics that we learned in business acumen. So this is how coaching is built on. So it always helps for any employee, any organizational position to have a coach and to see where his attainment, where his achievement, where his deliverables are impacting the bottom line. So this is the purpose of having a coach. Many schools have a program, mentorship program, where soon after you graduate, every single graduate is aligned to a mentor who is actually an alumni of the university. So a person who's very senior, who's willing to coach, is aligned or is assigned to every graduate, if they do require it, in such a way that it can be an informal relationship outside the school. So the concept of coaching and mentoring has been there in different form, but if you see that you lack this in your organization, then this is for you all to build on it. All right, so with that, let's take a look at our GROW model, starting with the first G, which is the goals. So this is the first component of the GROW model, and let's explore what this is and how to develop this. Now, goals in the context of GROW, the goals would have to be a certain way for you to have an effective relationship and to achieve the requirements that you have. The goals that you have assigned or the goals that you see for your coachee would have to be in a certain format. So we start out with starting in the right direction. So if you compare it with the SMART aspect of the SMART goals, the S of the SMART goals, where the goals would have to be specific, then this is what it means when you are going in the right direction. So if you are trying to attain, for an example, if there is a salesperson, a sales job, where the sales job is trying to achieve the number of close calls, then this has to be done in the right direction, where the attitude is required, where the coachee would have to have a certain criteria in assigning his phone calls or in starting the pitch. And for example, if you are trying to make a phone call and as soon as you hear from the other end, cold calling, that the person is not interested, then immediately you stop the call or you give up on the call. Then this would not be the way you would start out. This is not the right direction for you to go with the call. So your coach will intervene here and say that if you were to achieve a point where the person at the other end is not interested or not willing to buy, then you would ask him an open-ended question, okay? Or something like, try to use this technique in the right direction at a certain time, or at least once in 3 phone calls, once in 4 phone calls. So this would be the way, a coach will assign his goal that needs to be going in a right direction. And then as we move on, you would have to have the time constraint. Coaching time is more efficient. You need to go ahead with the plan and prepare targeted questions. as to how you would be able to achieve a 3% sales, how you would be able to achieve and go up to 5% and so forth. So this would be the G concept. And then within the goals, you have to be identifying appropriate goals area. Now, this is by asking prudent questions. The coach and the coachee will have a session, or a pre-coaching session actually. And in the pre-coaching question, you are supposed to ask, what are the requirements? What are the requirements for you to be achieving this on time? What are the learning aspects that you need in relation to these goals? And what is keeping you reaching from this goal? And how will you reach that goal? This is like identifying the goals area. And the first step, as we have seen in the past, say for example, in risk, was to identify the factors and then to assess, based on which you would be able to monitor it and then try to mitigate it. So same way, you have to identify the appropriate areas where the goals need to be worked on, where the goals need to be in relation to everything that you're doing. And here you may come across a learning disability, a learning requirement that the coach will have to set up with the coachee so that the right information is given. Usually there is a drawback in this area where a person is sent for a training. For example, on the technical side, like for example, you're lacking a programming language, you're lacking a specific methodology, where you are sent outside your organization for a 1 week or 2 week training session. Then there are some drawbacks to this as to how a person will be assessed when he comes back from the outside session. So in this manner, the training may not be incorporating the goals, or the return on investment is a little vague when it comes to organization, when it comes to your own organizational achievements and your organizational goals. So for the same reason, you would have to understand why coaching should be incorporated within the organization, within the organizational context, and how this will help you in reaching the goal. And how will you know that you have reached the goal? So these are the basic aspects of the goal setting. And the SMART goals are linked to your old topic of SMART goals. The G aspect of the GROW model is setting goals, and the setting goals is based on your topic that you have already looked at in your time module. So if you all remember, SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. In other words, specific, once again, we'll take the sales example. Specific would have to be like something that you want to increase, okay? So if the coach tells the coachee that you would have to improve your sales, then that would not be a specific goal. He would have to say that you have to really increase your sales targets or increase your closing ratio, then that would be specific. And then it would have to be measurable, where you have to have, anything relating to a metric. So whatever is not measurable isn't gonna work. What is ain't measurable ain't working. So same way, you have the specific goal of increasing your sales target by a metric, which is 10%. And it has to be attainable. As you all know, that 10% is attainable, sometimes more, but it cannot be an increase in 100% or 50%. So that's what makes it a more realistic, and always there would have to be a timeline achieving the goal. So the SMART goals have the goals in the GROW acronym have SMART goals as its underlying technique, and we would follow this. And just like how you would wrap it up in the GROW aspect, the W aspect of GROW, same way the SMART goals would have to be timely. All right, SMART goals is a common topic. Let's look at this.
Corey worked in the customer service department of the company he worked for. He had no defined goals except to help the customers with whatever problems they may have. Alex, the manager, approached Corey and asked for his satisfaction rating and other statistics relating to his work performance. While Corey worked hard, he had not been made aware that he needed to keep up with those statistics. Alex explained the process and set forth the goals that Corey would be expected to both reach and track. After that, Corey always had his performance reports ready and knew he was doing well.
All right, so with the SMART goals, as you can see, the goals were met. This takes care of the G part of your GROW module. All right, the next component in your GROW module is understanding the realities. Now, this is to understand what is going on the coachee side. So here, you would start out with some open questions. In your session, in understanding the realities, you will ask simple questions as to what is happening now, how does this happen, okay, and how were you able to achieve this number. This is an area where you come up with opening questions with some praise or with some positives, at the same time giving them an opportunity, showing them the area where the realities are meant to grow, to improve in your performance, to improve in your given opportunities. So here, you would have to get an idea, understanding the realities, what the problems are, what the underlying problems are relating to R by asking questions. Once again, we are not to focus on the negatives. We are not to focus on what is required and what is the problem, or what is the way or the reason behind its working. Because the whole purpose of coaching is to have the relationship built on interpersonally and to be able to grow and to be able to achieve the results. So this will help you. These questions will help you understand what the realities are. The same thing is here on the slide, getting a picture of where you are. What is happening now? And how often is this happening? What does it happen? What is the effect? So this is how you would ask him. And in these series of questions, open-ended questions, if the coachee is willing to say that, you know, it's because of my lack of maintaining the timeliness of the situation, I lost the client. Then once you know about this, you can ask him, how often does this happen? And then the coachee may say that it does happen, you know, every week or once in a, for whatever reasons is. And if they say that every Monday I am late because of my personal errand or whatever it is, then this is how you will get him to speak out where the problem is. And then this is where you will help him to understand that going to the client or getting to my appointment late on the first day of the week, for example, like Monday morning, is actually affecting my bottom line. So this is, if you all can get a way of having the coachee come up with his own specific areas and identifying his own specific areas. And this is how he will come to terms with reality. So this is about asking open-ended questions to getting a reality of the picture. All right, so the realities will talk about how to identify obstacles. And these are all, you know, with these three acronyms again, and where you will have to identify the obstacle, root out the cause, and give an antidote given. Now, once an obstacle is identified, you would get to the cause of it. In most cases, it's not learning disability, or it's not technical disability. It's more of a psychological. It's more of a soft related obstacle. And then here, in most cases, the root cause is your attitude, or the root cause in not being able to achieve the goals is more of your inability to speak out. Okay, inability to be stress-free. So this is how you would try to get to the root cause of the situation. Now, you have to understand the cyclic nature of this methodology, where under the GROW model, you have R, which is reality check. And under R, you have IRA. You can treat this, questioning, the result of your open questioning as IRA, as you can see, an acronym IRA. So you identified the obstacle and got to the root cause of it. And then at this point in time, you as a coach will give him the antidote, which means that you have to spell out what could be the reason. So if he is stressed, then you will try to de-stress him, okay? And if he is, complacent, you would try to overcome complacency by giving him the information that he needs. And if it's an organizational culture related aspect, and then you try to align him with the vision, with the mission or the vision of the organization, where you say that our vision is to do and so and so. And if you feel that he's fearful, then you would try to give him the knowledge, okay? Try to get him out of the fear by showing him the required knowledge or required gap, and then so forth. So this is a part of your goals in your achieving your goals through the reality check in your GROW model. And then as you move up with the GROW model, you will try to understand, how this came into the being. This came into a being, a state of being. So how would you do that? You would explore the past. Now, remember, coaching is all about maintaining the relationship. So once again, you'll use your communication skill of listening, okay? In a coaching session, you cannot be talking more than you're listening, because you're trying to extract the information. You cannot say that your report talked about how you have not fared well in the last evaluation and you have not done well in this quarter's evaluation. So you can be talking about 2 negatives or even 1 negative. So here you would talk to him and ask him open questions and explore how his negativity came up. This is not just for you to know, but this is also for him to come to terms what the reality is. So that is why you would explore past. Whenever you go to a counseling session or coaching session, there would be a lot that the coach will make notes, would listen to you, would try to extract some water. Try to extract water. So by talking and then giving him areas to speak up on and explore, then you would be able to get to the past. I'm sure you all can understand, the power of listening or the power of exploring. So if you were to talk to the coachee about what had happened in the past, then most likely you will get an idea from anything relating to his networking skills, anyone relating to his social settings, his company that he maintains, then or the types of company that he does, or his behavior in the meeting, blah, blah. You will get an idea where the problem is. Once you can figure out the problem, then it would be easy for you to solve. By doing this, by exploring the past, you are actually giving an opportunity to be involved in his own behavior or in his own setting. And then you get to have his buy-in, which means that throughout the coaching session, you're trying to maintain the morale, the relationship, the trust. And you're also trying to make him realize that this is for his own benefit, not for the coach's development or his career or his advancement. So this way you'll try to maintain a functional relationship, functional session, as opposed to a dysfunctional. So you are actually, with this, you're actually getting the buy-in of the coachee. Remember, his attitude, his approval, his buy-in is very important when it comes to exploring options, when it comes to having the goals set. So let's wrap up the goals part.
Gary worked as a receptionist. He had been told that he needed improvement by his supervisor, Jenna, but not on what he needed to improve specifically. After a while, he was assigned a coach named Dan. Dan helped Gary map out what his current situation was, and then they set goals for improvement in the areas Gary might be lacking in. After a while, Gary felt a little better about his work, though he wasn't sure if he was really improving. Dan came back to assess Gary after the goals were set. When he compared the results to his original assessment, Gary was happy to find that he had improved as he had thought, and he had Dan to thank for that reassurance.
All right. Here you saw how the goals improve, and one thing we missed here was the chart. In your pre-coaching session, you are to show the goal, that he needs to achieve, on a chart where you tag something. But then more important than it is also the location, the point where you are at, so that you can compare the progress. So if you are here and if you have it, pinned on a chart or on your session journal, remember, coaching is all about documenting, writing notes, asking questions, a lot of documentation. In the pre-coaching session, you always have a coachee's file handy, and then you would be documenting. The first session is all about listening in reality, okay? And it's all about listening and writing. So that's how the coachee will gain the confidence that you are making notes. How a manager or a coach will try to gain the confidence in the first session is by maintaining a clear coach or the coaching file, and that's how the file is built on. And towards the end of the coaching session, where you have to wrap it up and then mark the end of the coaching session, then the file is maintained and used up as a reference for future coaching sessions, maybe with a different coach. So that's how you would look at it. All right, so now we are exploring with the O aspect of the GROW model, which is exploring options. There's a nice quote here, if you want to look at it. All right. As you can see here, we're trying to identify paths, different ways to go by different, towards achieving or towards laying down options. And here we have once in a small methodology, as you can see, BIG. There's a lot of mini concepts and mini phrases or mini models within the coaching model. So the best way to remember is use the acronym. So when you see BIG, then you know that you have to now start on your big acronym, BIG acronym. And how would you do it? You would buy in your employee. In any project, you need to have a buy-in of the stakeholders. So the project owner gets the project, by going up and getting the permission. So you show them something and get the permissions. How would you get the buy-in of the employee is important here. You would get the buy-in of the employee by having the reality check by his own self. So you just go past and see what you did in the past to have, your confidence, his confidence in you, and how for him to achieve the results by following your path, how to achieve the goal. And at the same time, keeping it functional as opposed to dysfunctional, in the sense that at no point in time the coachee would know that this is for your own good as opposed to his own. Okay. So you would buy in your employee, which means that you need to have everything that you need by getting his buy-in. You have made sure that he has approved the session. Okay. And then you would go about innovating your technique, which means that more creativity is possible when two work at it. So with the buy-in, you would have to lay out different paths as to how innovative it would be, whatever he is comfortable with. One way to analyze his creativity here, or to be sure that the creativity works at his level, is to check his level of competency. This is having, this is the system which will do everything. This is having checked the job description for this position and the competencies that are required and the competencies that you see in his profile or on his resume. So this way you can be more creative by telling him that you're already familiar with, for example, Microsoft Office and well, a little bit more advanced than setting up a database using Access. And now this is a chance for you to learn something higher, in database management. And then technical side, you can see that we're already familiar with, the Windows Server. And then this is, this application will actually help you. So this way, we're trying to move up our options by giving him innovative plans. And these options will relate to his goals in the GROW model. So with GRO, you have identified your paths in O, which is related to his reality check with the different buy-ins we did, and then the different open-ended questions you have, and that's how he's achieving his goal. So this workshop would involve a lot of acronyms, a lot of mini models within models, and it's easy to remember by the different acronyms. So here we're identifying paths within options after reality check to achieve the goal. Here, what you need to remember is BIG, how this will help, and then how you would get how you will get the big results with the BIG. All right, so within the O part, you will have to close on your final approach, which is the approach that you have chosen from among the different options that you have. So if you have given him an option to build on his database management skills, then this is how you would have him choose the option, by having these 3 questions. Here there is DD, so you can create your own acronym, DDI, or relating to options. Does this option build new supporting skill? So if you know that he has a background in database management, does this support his skill? Yes, it does. Does the option meet the time requirements of the goal? Now, you already have discussed the time aspect in your SMART goals as a part of T in your GROW model. So you already have a timeline design, and how does this option fit in the timeline? So you have to know that whether this fits or not. And if this option is measurable, which means that what is the metric here? Anything that's not measurable is not going to work. So if the time frame is 30 days, and then the sales achievement is 10%, and then time to learn the package, the application, and come back to work is 2 weeks, then this will tell you that this is measurable. You're throwing in a control mechanism here to make sure that there is, timings that are relevant here. Towards the end of the O aspect, you would have to structure a plan. And once again, here there are 3 T's. So you can know this by writing down as 3 T's. What are you going to do tomorrow, 2 weeks from now, and 30 days from now? So if you have learned the specific skill, how are you going to do it, apply it tomorrow? Which means the difference between tomorrow, 2 weeks, and 30 days is nothing but a gap so that he can build on his skill. So if you are on job with a new skill as a part of your new option that was given to you, that was finalized by you, and then that is relevant, that is realistic based on your own understanding of the problem. It's a long sentence. I hope you're getting it. Then this is how you would achieve your SMART goal as a part of the G model, the GROW model. So with this, you're trying to say that you have learned the new trade, the new skill from your best possible option given to you. Now that you have it, how will you use it tomorrow? You'll use it very lightly, which means that you would only use a certain part of your skill tomorrow. And 2 weeks later, you will try to build on it and use it a lot. And 30 days from now, you would be relying totally on your new skill. How is the new skill going to help you? It's going to help you by achieving your SMART goal. How does it happen? Because we know that it was realistic and this was the option given to you and you worked on it and you have achieved it. This is just an example. For example, I'll give you a simple example. If you're using a sales call, trying to make a sales call to one of your say you work for American Express and you have a plan which is relating to your platinum, customer, and you're calling your very highest, highest in net worth, for example, customer, and trying to offer them something. And you can usually say, I think it's time for your vacation. You're more of a personal customer service rep. So you're trained that this is time for your vacation. And then you will ask them about where would they like to go. The tomorrow is not in yet, but you're just talking. And then your manager is saying, your coach is saying that you have to talk. And suddenly the client says that I'm not interested right now, I'm not. Then you can say, you were saying till now that, okay, thank you, I will give you a call later, and then hang up the phone, which is not the right approach. So your coach has told you that this is where the problem is. So let's try doing something tomorrow. What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do tomorrow is when you call him and when he says, he or she, whoever says that I'm not interested, you will say that, well, can I ask you something? In a month or so, the winter is going to start and you will not be able to travel. So now is the best time for you to travel with your family. So you have given him an open question to think. By this, you're buying some time and he may come up with something. And you can say that, well, I have an excellent place for this. So tomorrow you're going to throw in a question or two in every few calls that you make because you're not used to it. You are a bit fearful, and for which we showed you the knowledge, okay, the gap. So if you start doing that tomorrow, then you will increase your frequency of throwing in open questions more, like every third call, every fourth call in 2 weeks. And same way in 30 days, you will be proficient of calling or throwing in these open questions on every phone call that you make. That brings your closing rate up. That means that brings your dropping rate up. This is an example that I use. So here you have to remember the technique of TTT, 3 T's, as a part of structuring a plan from the option that you have chosen, okay, based on your reality check as a part of achieving the SMART goals. So you can start drawing, a tree in your diagram or in your book, or a nice diagram which will connect how this is all taking place. So that was about O component of grow.
Darren was assigned to help Perry by coaching him. Perry didn't have a big enough budget for marketing. Darren decided it would be best to hear Perry and his ideas on options to solving the issue. After they both collaborated and pulled together some viable options, they had to make a decision. They compared the costs in both time and resources of each option, while also taking the potential return on the investments into consideration. They eventually came to the decision to focus the marketing strategy on a central medium rather than spread it out more thinly. The marketing venture was a success, and it was because of the collaboration of the two of them.
All right, the option was given and as a part of the teamwork. Now remember, we have two individuals here, not necessarily, senior or junior, but one is coaching the other and vice versa. So this is how you would, improve on your sales figures or anything
Darren
that
was
you
assigned to help Perry by coaching him.
Now, in this video, you also saw how somebody decided to coach him. So don't think that this has to be, a situation that's approved, okay, by a senior manager. When I say hierarchical, it could even be a little up or down, and it can be spontaneous, it can be informal, and it can be just to help you with a task or two. So coaching is an aspect of learning, and then this is an encounter, and then people with business acumen will try to, get the best out of this opportunity. All right, we're towards the W aspect of the GROW model. So this is not the end of it. There's more to coaching, but let's look at how you can wrap it up. There's another acronym here, as you can see, creating the final plan using LAMA. Okay, so this technique is known as LAMA. LAMA. It's easy to remember. It means different things in different languages. So you would learn the aspect of your final plan. Okay, and you will apply, measure, and access. This is just towards wrapping it up, using the best approach and wrapping it up. How would you learn here about the final plan? There are different ways. For example, if you're trying to, technical example would be if you're trying to customize, if you're trying to generate a code, for example, okay, I'm going to use something from the information security area, where you're trying to generate a security code. So how would you learn the aspect of that? You could read it from the book, and the most commonly readily available aspect of learning is video clips on YouTube and henceforth. So in your final plan, you would learn the trick to be applied, okay, through different concepts. And then you would apply it and make sure there is a metric if you are able to measure it, and then you're able to assess it. How would this help you with your skills, and how would this help you with your goal, and how is this going to help you, and how did this improve your percentage of rating? And then you would also assess as to how you were able to finish it within the time. All right. All right, the next step towards wrapping it up is identifying the first step. Employee feels valued with the investment. You know, when you wrap it up, it's very important to understand that your goals are about to be achieved. And this is to give him, you know, an applaud or praise him with his achievement as to how the entire process helped you. And once again, you're maintaining a better working relationship. You're maintaining a degree of interpersonal relationship in the highest morale. And then you're giving a chance for a role model to become a mentor to your employee. So with a successful goal achieved and a cordial relationship maintained, you have also enhanced your chances of being a role model, okay, and to becoming a mentor. And then the new skills learned could be shared by other employees. This is amongst employees. This is amongst employees. How this was delegated to you from your senior coach is to be shared among other employees. This is about motivation, which we would study. There are different models in how to motivate others and how to be good at motivating. And this would be dealt with in detail in our following module, which would be next week. So here, how would you keep your coachee motivated? This is by, once again, some B's here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 B's. Okay, where you would have to be consistent in being positive. You have to be consistent in being talking about his achievements, while at the same time showing him the opportunity to grow. Be respectful, which means that you have to be the same way you are with him, in front of him, among employees and among the group, the team. Because chances are, if you could be respectful, very respectful to the coachee when you are in his company, when you're around him, but there might be ways of getting the coachee or the coaching sessions feedback from different team members, because the word of mouth, grapevine, you know, good news travels fast, as they say. So you have to be respectful in all aspects, front and back, all over, all the time. And then be caring. So here you have to once again be empath, showing your emotional skills, caring skills. And throughout the process, the coachee would have to make sure that he is being cared. And the relationship is more of a caring as opposed to, just a session to improve the goals. So there has to be the personal component in there. Be flexible, as you have to be when it comes to setting deadlines and giving him the extension, setting deadlines and giving him some margin, some leeway. And sometimes you have to bring about the change, make it cross-functional or cross, environment, take it outside. You may have heard of outbound training. You can go out. In most cases, people try to have sessions in a fast food restaurant and so forth. And of course, toward the end, you have to be a cheerleader. You have to make sure that, you have given him the praise, the applaud, the the congratulatory note, and depending on how the personality is, if a person needs to be recognized in public or as a team, then you have to do that. If for a person who wants not to be having a public profile, then you would make sure that you understand what his needs are and try to congratulate him or take care of his motivation in person. I don't know if we talked about Maslow's hierarchy or Maslow's hierarchy. We do all the time. But you have to remember that money is not a motivator anymore. You have to be having your physiological needs taken care of. Then the psychological needs will come in. So the same way the B's apply here, how you have to be taking care of himself, and in the end, giving him the recognition that he needs. All right, so this is about the W part of the GROW model.
Aaron was an office worker for a paper sales company. He had been nearly stagnant until his coach Wendy came along. After the identification of the problem and a collaborated plan of action, Aaron was nearly ready. Wendy first made sure he had learned to better organize, and then she finalized the plan with a call to action. Aaron had specific goals and deadlines he needed to adhere to, so he began working to meet those goals immediately. After a follow-up assessment, Wendy determined that Aaron had shown substantial improvement and made sure to congratulate him.
All right. The congratulatory tone can be consistent from the beginning. Of course, you always have to give a growth component in there. You have to have it, but you have to be positive in such a manner that you don't cross the line and get him to be overconfident while at the same time keeping him motivated. So this is all about motivation. All right. We're out of the GROW model, and there are some additional, basis for your coaching session to continue. We talked about trust, but we'll talk about a trust a little bit more. As you all can understand, you can never appreciate, the importance of trust ever. However, this will give you a boost towards how to maintain the trust. So what is trust? Why is it important? And why do we say in God we trust? This is a very important aspect. It's also cultural, okay? And it means different things in different industries. For example, trust is more of a value in a financial industry, in the banking sector, as opposed to the trust in anything relating to media. So trust is nothing but it's something that instills confidence in you. Okay, it maintains your morale. And most importantly, a level of trust is also considered as a level of enjoyment. You get to enjoy your relationship when you see a trust. People feel very proud of being involved in a trustworthy relationship. And trust grows with time, but it only takes a second to break the trust. So I hope you know what I mean. So you have to be very careful when it comes to a relationship, business relationships, and then communication skills plays a very important role. Sometimes a miscommunication is a mishap, not an intentional, but an error, and this will break the trust. So let's see what trust is and how we can keep it in our session, in our coaching session. As I said, it's built over time. Relies in you by being fair and truthful. So truthfulness or truth and honesty are the most important aspects of trust. This is a requirement in having your coaching session, move along all the way towards the completion of your goal. There is another acronym here, how to maintain trust in coaching, or how is it related to coaching. So don't be a dope. It's very easy to remember dope, D-O-P-E. Here's what DOPE means. Do not degrade a person, as you all know. Do not ostracize him. Try not to show his negatives. And especially do not, reprimand him or give him time off, especially in a coaching session. And you would have to be evaluating him, constantly. And then you would have to be giving him the positive aspect of evaluation. So if you are, evaluating him in a manner where, you will see that this will break the trust, then you would have to be coming up with timely evaluation with the required D's, which is don't. So do not degrade, ostracize, punish, and evaluate him. Evaluation is towards the negative aspect of him. So you have another D acronym, DOPE, which is outside the grow as a part of the trust. So how would you build trust? Be respectful, keep things confidential, keep your promises, tell them you believe in them. Okay. This is so true for your coaching session as well as any session that, or any relationship that you may have within your organization or within your department. All right, let's look at what trust is from him.
Ringo was an active sales coach for the company and knew how to gain and keep the trust of other employees. He knew that without it, the entire coaching process would be compromised. He never spoke harshly or negatively to the employee he was coaching and was always completely honest with them. He found that the more he respected and trusted the employee, the more the employee respected and trusted him. This genuine attitude helped make Ringo a more effective and helpful coach to the employees and made them better employees as well.
All right. All right, so we have another short module here on providing feedback. I'm sure you all remember the phrase that I usually use. I'm sure it rings a bell when I use the word feedback. Yes, that's feedback is ubiquitous. It's there everywhere all the time. And it's an important phenomena that you encounter. But here the problem is we have to know how to give a good feedback. So we have to structure feedback in such a way that you are balancing the trust and you're balancing the behavior. Because feedback is about something desirable or undesirable, right? So we come up with a technique known as, a methodology known as the feedback sandwich. Now feedback would have to be constructive, okay? And the feedback has to be critic, which means that you would have to have the feedback given in any way you want, okay? But make sure that you are comfortable giving the feedback to the coachee, because a negative feedback will get him lose the confidence in you. So we talked about trust, we talked about everything. So you don't want him to lose. So for that, we come up with a methodology known as the feedback sandwich. As you can see, this is in the form of a sandwich where you come up with praise. You start your feedback by praising or using a praise, then talk about the opportunity to growth and then the praise. So this makes it a sandwich, and the easy way to remember is POP, POP. Praise, opportunity for growth, for praise. So this is the best way you can deliver a feedback. So the coachee will get an actual feedback. So how would you praise? You would talk about how he is always coming on time. Okay, and you can talk about how he's always, open to other opportunities. So with that, the coachee would feel comfortable. And then after the praise, but you don't want to praise him too much because your meaty component of growth will get diluted if you spend here more. Same was the case when we talked about evaluation and we talked about the other stuff where you don't want to dilute your major aspect. So you praise in such a manner that he listens to us and shows some interest and is open for the opportunity for growth. Now, the opportunity for growth is nothing but the critic part of your feedback, where you're trying to say that, well, you always come on time, but when you come for the meeting, you are talking, prior to the meeting, and towards the end of the meeting, you are once again discussing with your colleagues. And on the way back from the meeting to your workplace, you're talking so much that you're actually getting late coming back to your desk and writing the notes, if that was his part. So this would be the opportunity to go. This is once again saying that you have, you are very good at learning new stuff. I'm sure you'll be able to catch up, and then you have never missed any deadline and so forth. So this is a way of giving feedback. This is the methodology used in feedback. And this is known as the feedback sandwich, because this is the top part of your sandwich, the top part of the bun, where you have the meat in here and the top part of the bun and the lower part of the bun. So you start with praise, opportunity, and praise. So POP is the best way to remember. There are some exercises. If it would be posted on the LMS, then I would recommend you all to do all of these on all of these acronyms, and you'll get a better idea. You will actually practice how to deliver a feedback sandwich with a praise and the real aspect of critique, which is in the form of the opportunity for growth, and then close it with the praise again. What follows the feedback is providing constructive criticism. This is just another way of praising and then delivering the criticism. So constructive criticism is a very fashionable term. Everyone says that, well, in a constructive manner, you can say something bad in a constructive manner, whatever that means, which means like you can slap in a soft manner. So that's constructive criticism, where you have to criticize in such a manner that it cannot be, it will not be, something the client will, will get up or will break out. So here you would have to follow the rules, okay? And here it's AFFF if you want to create an acronym yourself. Avoid addressing multiple issues. So when it comes to criticism, only talk about one issue and focus on being timely. And here, focus on observable actions or behaviors. So when it comes to criticism, don't be general and don't say that you're late, okay, or you are hard to hear, or you can say that, don't say that you are annoying. You can say that, well, whenever you talk, I have a tough time listening to you, and sometimes I have to move up. So this is an observable action or behavior. So when it comes to criticism, you have learned about behavior as an indicator in your HRM module, where we talked about competency-based HRM. Competency is nothing but a set of actions or behaviors, and these are multi-level behaviors. So go back to that and see how behaviors play a role. So here, if you're saying somebody you're late, it looks bad, but you can say that, well, I always see you stopping by for a cup of coffee on the way back to your office after lunch. So that's an action, that's an observable behavior. So this is what you would bring about. These are the tricks of the trade in coming up with a constructive criticism. You would not ask why you're late. Obviously, that would be a wrong question. And you wouldn't say how you're late. And you wouldn't say you're coming late, but you would focus on the action. Focus on a plan to change the behavior. So once again, competency-based HRM is all about behavioral change. So as a part of the coachee or coach, you have to be sure that you are ready to bring about the change in your behaviors, both to the coach as well as to the coachee. The same is the case when it comes to the mentor and mentee. All right, so that's about about constructive criticism. Remember, feedback is one aspect of business across the board, and constructive criticism is a requirement for managers. Otherwise, there will not be room for growth or opportunity. And how would you encourage growth and development? Towards the end of this module, you will see how you would work on sustainable development, which is attaining sustainable developmental goal as a part of encouraging growth. So this is something more sustainable. As you're doing a coaching session, you want to make sure that it is also, sustained on a long-term basis. So as a part of your coaching session, you would recommend a peer mentorship process. Okay. Now, if mentorship or having a mentor or mentorship program is not common in your system, then you have to work on it, set it up, because it benefits everyone. It is a greater good more than coaching. And you will get to it when you finish your coaching session. So how would you do it? Have two people one-on-one learn something. Okay, that always helps. Internal training program, of course. Some organizations have it, some don't. Some would like to spend money, some don't. So if you look at what is the cost of you spending money on training your new recruits versus the opportunity cost of not sending the trainees to the training program, you lose sales as opposed to spending money. To another department, this would be your best way. But once again, when you send an employee to another department, chances are the downtime, the time lost, and chances are in some very, very progressive organizations, how people stick to the new department that they go for a month or so. In an organization like Motorola or STC in Saudi Arabia, Motorola in Illinois, and then any other organization, I'm trying to see, maybe can think of something. Where it's very open and encouraged for employees to switch departments. Okay, so the first person who knows when you're about to switch internal, because there are so many internal recruitments, internal postings, is your manager. So you can send your employee to another department for learning, but the downside is you may lose him in addition to the downtime. Seminars, if your budget allows. What do the top of the line organizations do, institutions do, and corporations do? If you want to go get a degree, an advanced degree, a master's or PhD, they pay you completely for your program for 2, 3, 4, any number of years. And then you can leave your organization after you get your degree. In addition to which, you are allowed to go attend a seminar or a conference, at the cost of your organization, as long as they feel that you are developing or you are contributing. And there might be a case where you are innovating, submitting, or publishing. So your time and money is all taken care of. So this is how you would encourage growth and development. And there are very, very aggressive organizations who believe in this. So here's some feedback.
Mary was a good coach, but she found it difficult to give feedback when an employee's work was less than expected or they didn't reach the goals that were set. Mary knew that when she needed to mention something for an employee to work on, it was often a good idea to let them know of the areas they have improved on or excel at. When constructive criticism has to be given, Mary remembers to always weigh the good with the bad to ensure that the employee understands their value and is more receptive to the negative aspects of the criticism.
All right, so feedback sandwich is the best way to deliver. All right, 9, overcoming roadblocks. Roadblocks are nothing but, obstacles, but not really dead ends. And you would have to see how overcoming obstacles will help you move towards your goals. The common obstacles are lack of confidence in coaching, fear of concentration, fear of failure in coaching, afraid employees will not respond. Lack of confidence in coaching, you have to remember that a coach is within an organizational center, whereas a mentor is somebody who is regarded as an expert. So never would you want to have the feeling that you as a coach, have lost the confidence by the fact that you may not be able to do it well. Okay. And then the fear of confrontation. The chances are nil where a coach, many a times you feel that you may be confronted, but the chances of this happening is nil, because never in a coaching session is a confrontation. It's an open intervention where the coach and the coachee are both learning, but this requires a certain culture. Okay. So if the coach is coming in with an attitude of only imparting knowledge, then that's, the wrong attitude. But in most organizations, the coachee, is learning, while at the same time, very senior coaches will make the statement that I'm willing to learn from this coaching session. So there is nothing to be fearful about or reviewing or being afraid. So towards the end, as a part of your roadblocks, you would revisit the starting point, determine what has been accomplished, review the amount of time left. In other words, this is a friendly session where you will go back and review, and there is no such thing as losing on the goals or not winning. Focusing on progress is through increased communication, building trust, motivation, and relationship with your employees. This is towards overcoming the roadblocks.
Bob knew that as a coach, he and the employee he works with may face obstacles. Upon first meeting Rory, Bob had feelings of doubt in his ability to coach him. Regardless, Bob continued without a hitch. Rory and Bob developed a good relationship. Bob eventually had to reevaluate the goals that he and Rory had originally made. He found that while Rory was making progress, he was not making the progress in a timely fashion. After a few adjustments to their original options, they came to a solution that continued Rory's progress and allowed him to reach his goal in time. Bob also gained confidence in himself as a coach.
All right, we're getting towards the end of the coaching session. And the most important aspect of reaching the end is to make sure that the coachee understands that, the goals have been achieved and the coaching session has been a success. And then he has improved on his own behaviors and the goals have been achieved. You have to understand that here, the purpose of the end is to make sure that the coachee understands that the end has reached. The section was successful. And this way you would be transitioning the coach, which means that you would have, the coach move up, to be his mentor, or the coachee being assigned to a different level of development or to a different level of, or a different organizational setting or a different coach within an organization. It is always advisable to have a coach in continuation with your previous session or in line with everything else that's going on. So you would close on to the file, the coaching file, by saying that coaching session has ended with a list of positive achievements and your assessment so that it can be taken up from the
Rob
future.
coached John on his sales performance. Rob determined that John had completed his goal in the 6-month period they had agreed upon and was ready to start transitioning towards a new goal. Rob congratulated John on his vast improvement since the start of the coaching and made sure John was ready for the transition. Rob was satisfied and made a positive recommendation when he turned in his overall report on John's progress. John had exceeded expectations and was ready for the next stage of development. Rob had improved as well in his experience and confidence in his own coaching abilities.
All right, we're going to have to wrap it up. And just so you all know, because we're going overtime, we won't have a section this Wednesday. We will continue having our new topics every Monday from here on. So for those of you who are pressed against time, feel free to look. But just so you all know, we don't have a session on Wednesday going forward. We only have it on Monday. I might take an extra 15 or 20 minutes if that's okay with you all. And that way you'll have a chance to review your LMS for the entire week. And we will be back with motivation, the concept of motivation or motivating employees next week. So if you can give me maybe 5 more minutes, we'll be getting to be done with this. So the next module is about how mentoring differs from coaching. Okay, so mentoring is a little higher up in hierarchy or a little more interpersonal, and it is more personal, I would say. And mentoring is a concept where a person would like to have a voluntary, more of a voluntary session, more of a session relating to the life goal, the career development, as opposed to a job function. Now, mentoring is a higher aspect. I'm going to use another phrase here, which is very commonly used. Behind every successful man or every successful person, there is a, you got it, it's a mentor. So for all the successful corporate personalities, there was always a mentor. We don't talk about coaching when it comes to CEOs. We only talk about mentors. So as we progress in our journey, and if you all remember, your goal was to reach the organizational ladder to the topmost organizational administrative position. So this is where mentoring comes. So this is, if this is your aim, then with the soft ladder that you have, then you are supposed to start out having a mentor. You can blend the two models. It will give the flexibility that you need, but you know, it's better to start out with coaching and later on get to the mentoring. Or you can have a mentor right away at this moment. Many a time you don't even know you have a mentor. And sometimes you have a mentor, but the mentor doesn't know that he's a mentor. So you have to tell him and ask him if you could be my mentor. So the topics remain the same. Here, you would be more on the relationship. It's more than hierarchy. It's more interpersonal, more emotional, and more personal. So there's empathy in there, professional relationship, and then this is a long-term situation.
Dave was the floor manager of a paper mill. He was asked to coach a sales representative named Jerry so that he may more effectively help the company. Dave wanted to devote more time to Jerry, but was still needed as the floor manager. Dave decided upon a blend of coaching and mentoring so that he could still remain the floor manager and coach Jerry at the same time. The combination of the two methods did more than that, though. He soon realized that Jerry was benefiting as well. He had a sense of empowerment and confidence because he was more influential in his development, and he was receiving coaching from a variety of experienced managers and supervisors that gave him a bigger source of knowledge to draw from. Dave felt the compromise worked out for both of them.
All right, from what I hear, the secret of success is mentoring or having a mentor. So you guys have gotten the cue, how would you succeed? And there have been mentors, at least the successfuls have always talked about having a mentor. I'm gonna give you a little task to find out who Bill Gates' mentor was. If you have it, you can write it on the chat box. And if you look at different areas, like every movie talks about a mentor, okay? All the top guys, Ethan Hunt has a mentor. Figure out who Ethan Hunt's mentor is. Movie Matrix has a mentor. And then there are very few women mentors. So for those of you who are listening to me, it's a chance for you to mentor and women mentors for women, something like this. So there's some additional notes here. It's very difficult to read. Let me see if I can read it out for you. I'm getting the screen here. Business Coach estimates a growth 11 billion annually in the US. So that's some good stuff about mentoring. I want to show you what coaching is as a competency. So there's once again 4 levels here, okay, for coaching as a competency, and job activities, of how you would proceed. I guess that's about it. in the coaching and mentoring session, it was a wrap up, a fast track, because this was not actually a coaching session, but about coaching. But the point here is to focus on how you would take coaching in a corporate context and how you would most importantly realize it as a learning opportunity. So I'm done. The moderator can take over, Ms. Humera. I'm open for questions. So once again, we don't have a session this Wednesday, but we do have one the next week, the following Monday, and we will be back with motivation or motivating employees. So that's about it for now. Thank you, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Shah, for the wonderful learning session on coaching and mentoring. I would, before we move on to Q&A round, I would request Mr. Saeed Saab to make an announcement regarding a slight change in our schedule. Thank you. Saeed Saab, can you please take over?
Yeah, thank you, Humera, and thank you, Shahzab. As Shahzab has just announced, okay, about the change of the schedule, I would just like to reiterate the fact that this Wednesday we will not have any session, and we will have our next session, okay, on the next Monday, and then every Monday we'll have session, and then in the last week on the Wednesday we will have a complete Q&A session. Because we know that a lot of people have questions, and then at the end the Q&A time that is being given is not good enough for Shahzab to answer as well. So one full session we will have on Q&A, and then we will conclude the graduation ceremony after that. So next 3 Mondays, okay, we will have sessions. There will be no session on the coming Wednesday as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Saeed Bhai, for this announcement. I'm sure it is clear to everyone. So now, without wasting much time, let us quickly take questions one by one. So the first question is from Dr. Muhammad Khurshid Akhtar Saab. It is mentoring needed expertise or more experience in the related fields, or any fresher can also be selected or provide the same mentoring purpose? Please elaborate.
No, mentor has to be an expert. Coach don't need to be an expert. So mentoring is metaphysical, like I said. It is a long-term relationship. It is a lifetime of relationship, and a lifetime of success, and a lifetime of achievement. So a mentor would have to be an expert in the field. Mentors are big guys, okay? So anybody big in your corporation, in your network, can be a mentor. In your family, in your social network, can be a mentor, provided that he's an expert in the field. Next question.
All right. So the next question is, how can you coach with more listening in a situation like the coachee has complete wrong understanding of a subject or situation?
No, coaching is all about listening. They say you have 2 years, so you have to listen more. So coaching is all about listening, and you start out by getting information. So if the coachee is all misguided, then from his words, you would have to get the misguidance and show it to him that he has been misguided in such a way. It has to be from his words. That's why you have to listen. And when you show it to him from his own words, that's a reality check. That is a part of the R component in grow. So it's all about listening. You have to build on it. You have to be an effective listener to actually listen what he's saying. Next.
Next is from Malika Sayyed. How to give constructive criticism as a coach?
Well, we talked about it in the slides. It would also be in the reading material provided to you, or the reference material. You have to be positive, and there are 4 ways of saying it. We talked about focusing on actionable behaviors, okay, not words. So anything that he is doing wrong, don't say that you're doing, or saying that this is how you behaved when you did it. So when you were walking back from your meeting, you stopped by to have some coffee, and you were talking with your friend for so long that you came late to my desk. So you have to talk about actionable behaviors in such a manner that it is being critiqued with some basis. And you have to do it at one time, in an optimal situation. So there are 4 rules that we talked about in one of the slides. You can find it on the reading material and the record and the video. Clear? Next.
Yes. So the next question is from Mr. Atif Zedi. He's asking, hello, sir. During this difficult time of pandemic, is coaching or mentoring a good alternative career option?
Absolutely. This is the best time. This is the best part about the crisis. Okay. I wouldn't have been here but for the crisis, right? And you wouldn't have been here but for the crisis. But the best part is you have access to the technology I do. So as long as I'm here, you're there, mentoring or coaching can go on. There is webinars all over the world, and the best of webinars are available free of cost. So this is the best time to do it. I gave an example last time that Albert Einstein did most of his work got published during the crisis that he lived in, maybe 185 years ago, 190 years ago. So if you have access to technology, which many in India don't, then this is the best thing that can happen in crisis, as long as you can survive. Next.
All right. So the next question is from Sheikh Irshad Saab. Can mentor be a coach within the organization?
Yeah, it's easy to be a coach than to be a mentor. Okay, so if you're already a mentor, yes, absolutely, you're the best coach. People would line up for your coaching. Okay, clear?
Clear. So the next question is from Mr. Ankit Chaurasia. I would be more keen to know about how to choose a perfect mentor for my career guidance.
Well, you have to figure out who's best. And choosing is easy, but the person would have to be willing to be your mentor. Okay, so if you have a mentorship program, it's easy to go and register. If you don't, then you just go to the person and ask him. He might feel better. Like I said many a time, the mentors don't know that they are mentors. And sometimes, the mentee or the coachee do not know that they are. So it's a learning organization. It's a learning phenomena. And most in learning organizations don't know. So you have to go and ask him. If he's willing to, then that's the best for you.
All right. So the next question is from Mohammad Akhlaq. How can we establish tutor points for the school-going children during lockdown with the proper implementation of health advisories?
How can you, I didn't get it. Can you read it again?
Yes. How can we establish tutor points for the school-going children during lockdown with proper implementation of health advisories?
Well, see, unfortunately, 80% of the time, for example, if you're calling from India, 80% of the Indians don't have access to, smartphones, not technology. And, if you look at the statistics, if you look at the indexes, and if you look at, it's a very bad situation. So the only thing you can do is arrange a community center or a group center with a smart screen, a big TV, and delegate. But if you have access to a smartphone or a webinar, then there is learning. Okay, Khan Academy, for example, is the best learning source if you have access to technology at any level, from the school level and so on. So you have to develop community centers if they don't have access. But if they do, then you can borrow your family or your parents' smartphones, and school kids can continue their learning. And as long as they have books the traditional way, they can continue learning. So learning is the best part about that's going on now in this crisis. I hope it's clear. Next one.
Thank you. Thank you,
Sure.
Shah Saab. I'll just take the last question and then we will quickly wrap up. So the last question is from Imran Alam Saab. How coaching and mentoring is required for a business? Please elaborate.
Well, for your own business, see, the own business is usually considered the form of business organization is what you look at. If you're a sole proprietorship or a corporation or in between a partnership, it's how you do it. So usually the founder is the mentor in a business organization. And if you're starting your own business, if you need help mentoring, then there is online help. There are external consultants. I talked about external CEO. You have consultants in the area of accounting, like your chartered accountant. You have financial analysts, okay? And you have somebody on the banking side. So there are different people where you would go and seek specialized knowledge because they have specialized expertise. So if you're looking at mentor, it would have to be a perfect in your situation. So I'm not sure what you're asking, but I hope this answers. So if you have a technical issue, you go to an outside consultant in that area. Okay, if you have a taxation relating to our, interest income related to, then that is through your accountant, your chartered accountant. I hope that answers. Thank you. Anything else?
No, that is it. Thank you, Mr. Shah Siddiqui Saab, for today's lecture on coaching and mentoring. Definitely, it is very important to have a mentor or a coach which can guide us through tough times, be it professional, personal, or educational walk of one's life. I would now request Mr. Saeed Saab to talk about LMS for a few minutes so that it is clear to our participants because there were many queries about it. Thank you. Saeed Saab?
Yeah, thank you, Shazab, one more
Welcome.
time because for your inspiring lecture. And I know it's already a bit late, but thank you all for your patience. I'll quickly share my screen and then show you the usage of the learning management system, what we have, and the common queries that I've been getting. So the common queries that we had is basically, the assessments. Are the assessments open? Yes, the assessments are open for the previous courses as well, and till the complete of the webinar, mostly by 7th of August, you have time for the remaining assessments to complete. And this week we have uploaded a new course, coaching and mentoring, the session that was conducted today. Okay, so we have just uploaded the introduction and the e-learning module, and there are certain documents as well that you can download. And at the end, okay, you have the assessment that needs to be taken, and that assessment would be of 20 questions. So in order to gain your certificate, the assessment you have to pass, and then you have to make sure that you get 80% of the marks at least. And for the rest of the courses, okay, you have the assessments only open. You cannot access the courses anymore because we keep the courses open just for a week. So you have week to take this course as well, the coaching and mentoring, the e-learning module, finish it off, and then you can take the assessment as well. And I got a few queries saying that they are not able to access the reports. I would request please email to the given email ID with your registered email ID, so that will help me in finding out the reason behind your login. Otherwise it's difficult for me to debug and find out, okay, if you are not a registered user. So that's one query that I would like to address. I think apart from that, we are pretty much done. I see that a lot of people are getting enrolled and taking assessments and the courses as well. I would request that you utilize this the best of the opportunity and then enroll and then complete your assessment. Thank you once again. Over to you, Mera.
Thank you. Wonderful. So Saeed Bhai, thank you for explaining about LMS and answering the questions about the LMS and the assessments to our attendees. To all the attendees, it is always a pleasure to have you all on board for our sessions. I'm sure through these learning sessions, which AMP has organized in collaboration with Read Academy and Swifty Learning Services to benefit the youth and of the society and nation as a whole, you all will get benefited in many, many ways. Attending these sessions will always help you in your career paths. AMP in association with Read Academy and Swifty Learning has organized this session for you all. So let's not miss this opportunity to engage ourselves in our career building. Keep joining us in these sessions to learn from our highly qualified expert speaker, Mr. Shah Siddiqui Saab. You can also spread the word about us and our sessions. Keep yourself updated through our website, www.ampindia.org/pastwebtalks. If you want to join us, kindly visit www.ampindia.org/joinamp. Looking forward to seeing you all again on coming Monday, 27th July at 7:30 p.m. IST for our next session. So in case if you have any question or queries, you can write to us at office@ampusa.org. I am Humaira, signing off now. Take care, stay home, stay safe. Keep learning. Good evening. Goodbye for now. Thank you.